you ever felt like your hard work in the corporate world just isn't getting you anywhere? And I know exactly how that feels if you're finding yourself in this position. And so today I'm going to share with you guys how I took the skills that I learned in my corporate job and turned those into a profitable business and how you can do it too. So for those of you guys who don't know me, hello, my name is Shanice Upshur, the founder of the Corporate Escapee, and I help corporate professionals use their skills to build businesses they love. So if you're thinking about leaving your corporate job, starting something of your own, you have come into the right place. So a little bit about me and kind of how all of this transpired. So before I started my business, I had spent almost 15 years working for a Fortune 500 company. And this was a company in kind of the technology space, done tons of different things in that area. Led sales teams, led training teams, chief of staff. So lots of different roles there. And I learned a lot, right? So over those 15 years, whether it was sales, whether it was marketing, managing projects, managing teams, I even got to put on a training for all of North America, right? So many different skills and talents that I learned and picked up over the years. So much so that some of the programs and trainings that I had been a part of when I first kind of got into the corporate world, I was then leading when I left. And even with all of that, I still felt that there were things that were missing. There were things that I felt I couldn't do to the level that I wanted to do. And there really just wasn't a space that made sense for me to use my skills and my passions as effectively and as efficiently as I wanted to. And so that's when, I kind of started to get that itch, so to speak, this idea of like, what would it look like to do something different, to take these skills that I had and lean into something a little bit different, find something for myself. And I used to always say, like, yes, my corporation was taking care of me, but nobody's going to take care of me the way that I can take care of me. So whether that was from the things that I wanted to do, whether that was, around pay even, I knew that there were things that I could do better than the business could. And it really kind of all came to a head when I was talking with a leader around either staying in the position that I was at, leaving the company, or moving into a different role. And there was something that they wanted me to do. And as people kept talking about the role and the position, there was a lot of conversation around, we really need someone to come in and help fix things. We really need somebody who's going to be able to put a lot of time and energy into this. This isn't going to be a standard 8 to 5. Like, we're going to need more from you. And I was just looking at everything and I was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to balance work and, being spending time with my family, right? I have a 15-year-old son. I just knew that there wasn't going to be any way to find balance in this role. And so I made the jump. I decided to leave. And kind of that for me was a big part of or I guess the start rather of my turning point. And it just kind of got to this place where I was like, okay, I'm using all of my skills to build somebody else's dreams, right? It was a great company and all of that, but it's like, this isn't my dream. This isn't something that I'm, super passionate about. This isn't necessarily what I want my legacy to be. And you guys have probably heard me talk about the fact that there was a moment when I kind of said to myself, like, when I imagine myself looking back in my 60s and my 70s, 80s, etc., how am I going to feel? And I got to the point where I was like, I know in my heart of hearts that if I look back and I don't make this jump, I'm going to say, like, Shanice, why didn't you at least try? Even if you go up in flames, like, at least try. And that was a huge, huge part of my turning point for me. So yes, I was nervous. I was worried about money, failing, what would other people think, but I knew I had to try. So if you guys are in that moment, right, where you're having these thoughts go through your head and you're starting to wonder, what does something different look like? Even if it's scary as heck, right? What does jumping off of that cliff look like? I challenge you to think about, what are the skills that you have now from a business perspective, and how do those translate either into entrepreneurial skills, things that you use to create your business, or even skills that you teach others and use as the foundation of your own business. So some of the skills that I leaned into, going to talk through that. There were a couple, right? And honestly, there's probably more than this, but wanted to call out four of them that I really leaned into during my time and like what helped me make that connection between corporate skill to entrepreneurial skill. So, one of the things that I really leaned into in my chief of staff role was like these project management skills. Like, no, I don't have like an official like project management license or anything like that, but a huge part of my job was, hey, there's this new product launching, figure out how to make it, work, whether that was training that the sellers needed, whether that was marketing that we needed to put out, changing comp structure, who needs to support us, whatever that looked like. So whether it was products that we were launching, sometimes even a new tool that we were rolling out. So I took those project management skills that I had and I used them to plan out my own business launch step by step, right? What needed to happen first? What needed to happen second? Who did I need to lean on? What tools did I need to utilize? All of those things really came into play in a really powerful way at that beginning when I was creating my own business plan. So, if you've got this skill, lean into it. Paid off for me in spades. And then another thing too, so just kind of a little like tidbit around that also came in really really great for me when there were moments where I needed to pivot, right? Because in that role and kind of with that project management piece, there was, at least for me, a lot of assessing: is something working, is something not working, how do we adjust, what do we change, how do we course correct, all of that. So leaned into those skills as well as the launch was being executed. And then the second thing is the teamwork piece. So, I mean, in my roles, like there always were moments where I was leaning on other people, pulling people together, whether it was in sales, as a sales leader, even in the chief of staff role, right? So many moments where I was having to connect other people, bring them in, get people on board for the same project, but with different expertise areas. So leaning into that teamwork really helped me connect with my clients. It helped me build strong relationships, not just with the clients, but sometimes even different vendors or other people that have parts or pieces of support in my business. The third thing, and I think I actually did a whole YouTube video on this. One of my favorite skills out there is problem solving. And for me, that really became a superpower that I used for helping clients overcome their challenges. So many different ways that you can lean into problem solving. Um, Whether those are things within your own business that you're trying to figure out, how do I best go about building my brand or connecting to more people or creating a sales process, building out my social media um, platform, things like that. So they can be internal. But honestly, when you think about it, a business is all about understanding your customers, what problems do they have, and how can you, as a business owner, solve them. So I really, really lean into this idea of problem solving when it comes to supporting my customers through whatever it is that they're looking for. So, with me and with Corporate Escapee, it's all about connecting with individuals in the corporate world who are ready for something different. So, there'll be times when I'll be up late at night and thinking, okay, think back when you were in that place, Shanice. Think about people who are in this space now of being in the corporate world, looking at having the possibility of layoffs hovering over them, or maybe just no longer aligned with what the business is focusing on, or maybe they have, built out new skill sets for themselves, and there's not a space in their current job for those skill sets. Maybe there's no, upward mobility movement, or for whatever the reason. And so, as I sit there and think about these individuals and all of these different types of people, corporate professionals that are looking to exit, the question that keeps popping up in my mind is like, what are their problems? How can I solve them? What are their problems? How can I solve them? And so that same kind of like, I was going to use the word maniacal, but that's not the right word. But that same like focused that focused energy on that phrase, what are their problems, how can I fix them, needs to be that same mantra that you have for yourself as you go about trying to figure out what are the offers, what are the products, what are the services that you provide for your customers. And don't be afraid to refine that, refine that, refine that. Ask yourself that again and again and again. I actually went out, you guys have heard me talking about it. I have dry erase markers all over the place. I have a huge dry erase board off to the side here in the office. And then I actually also have dry erase markers next to all the mirrors in my house too. So wherever I am, when an answer to that, what is their problem? How can I solve it? Comes to me, I can jot it down, have somewhere to keep it. So or you can just use your phone or voice messages or whatever. But what are their problems? How do I fix? How do I solve them? Needs to be that mantra that you repeat day in and day out, not just for yourself, but for those customers. That's where the biggest impact is going to occur. And then the last thing I would say on my list are communication skills. So, communication skills, like, yes, they were honed in the corporate world, but they definitely started when I was young. So, my mom homeschooled me and my 9 younger brothers and sisters. She was an English major. Communication was huge for her. English, reading, like, those were her favorite subjects to like teach and have us focus on and lean into. So she had us doing a lot of stuff around communication. She actually tried to get me to join debate teams a couple of times. I managed to dodge those bullets. I was a little shyer as a child. But communication skills, drilled into me as a child, and then as an adult in the corporate world, really getting to use those communication skills, whether it was talking to customers, making sure that the sellers underneath me knew exactly what it was that needed to be done. I'm very big on, if two people can hear the same thing and walk away with different ideas of what it was that I was trying to say, I wasn't clear, right? So that is something that I've honed in myself, in my corporate skill sets, and have now gotten a chance to use this in the entrepreneurial space. So I use my communication skills to create clear offers, clear marketing messages with the desired outcome that, whether person A, B, or C hears what it is I have to offer, they're able to fully understand what it is that I do, how I can support them, and understand what my connection to them would be. So all of those things that I did at work, they were exactly what I needed to start and grow my business. And if you were to take stock of those own skill sets that you have kind of honed over the past years, you probably be pleasantly surprised at some interesting things that bubble up. But anyways, so since making that leap, right? Leaving the corporate world, becoming an entrepreneur, I've gotten to help countless people leave their jobs and start their own businesses, right? So I built a business that gives me freedom and purpose, and every day I use those same skills I learned back in my corporate days. I think the only skill that I've like really leaned into as an entrepreneur that I didn't really have to finagle. I guess I kind of did too. I was going to say website building, right? Like I kind of play around and I actually did do my own website, but I did do like SharePoint pages and stuff. So I kind of sort of the same. So there are so many of them that just translate over, right? I didn't have to go out and garner and get 20 new skills for myself. I was able to use the things that I already had. And so that's my encouragement to you guys, right? If you're watching this and you're wondering, are my skills enough? I promise you they are. Think about the things that you're good at and how you can use those talents to help others. And that's really what it is all about, right? It's not about going out there and becoming this completely different person. It's staying true to the person who you already are and saying, how can I use my skills to no longer support my corporation, but to support all of these amazing people out there that I want to help and support. So if you would go ahead and share this video if you found it helpful, would love and appreciate that. And honestly, just go out there, be awesome, be amazing, and I will see you all next time.